Hey everybody, it is just barely November 17th, 2008, about 11:53 p.m. here. And I've mentioned before a couple of things. One that I have random creative ideas, and one that, or two, yes, one and one. Another thing. I'm studying Japanese. And there's one random creative idea I have, which involves teaching people to speak Japanese, which it's kind of hard to pursue at the moment because I figured I'd have to achieve fluency myself before I actually figure out how this stuff goes. But you know, obviously the first thought is, could there be something sort of fun? And yet engaging, and yet, I don't know, teaching you on the sly almost? So here's my concept, and of course I'll have to explain a couple Japanese things as we go here. The word baka means essentially idiot. The word des means it is. The word ne means don't you agree. And due to the structure of Japanese, and of course even now I'm not explaining things perfectly well, Baka Desnay would translate to, well, it doesn't actually say who is an idiot, does it? Japanese is a weird thing with that. You know, already, look, see, I'm teaching you. Aha. But it might be interpreted as he's an idiot, or you're an idiot, or I'm an idiot, or something that we're talking about here happens to be an idiot. And don't you agree? Isn't that obvious? So there's another thought in my head. Something like a cartoon sort of thing. Imagine this is very sort of, you know, just weird and you go with it, you know. Which I guess it would be an anime then if we if we did it in that sort of sense. I always imagine this being like stick figures, just having a weird visual style to it. But yeah, it's about a man named Desnay Baka, who lives in America and accidentally travels to Japan. And once he lives in Japan, he discovers, here's another Japanese lesson, that in Japan, generally your last name, as we call it, comes first. So if you're Bob Smith over there, they would call you Smith Bob. And so Mr. Desnay Baka discovers he's called Baka Desnay, which, ironically enough, fits him so well. The guy is just a complete idiot, but a very adventurous idiot, you know? Very, one would almost say paranoid, except without the fear aspect. And by that I mean he's constantly seeing something as being a call to action, and he's constantly acting on it, whether or not it actually matters or not. Like, I imagine he meets some, Japanese guy, I'm making up details, you know, here and there, etc. But let's say this guy's name's Takashi, that's a name, and let's say he's you know, native Japanese person who's been learning English, went to America, perhaps encountered Dezzie, as we had a nickname for Baka Desnay, our main character. Encountered Dezzie, and then accidentally Dezzie winds up with like the luggage or something on the plane, like pops out in Japan and goes, "Bonjour!" He has no idea what he's doing. And then furthermore, like, is not even embarrassed that he makes total mistakes. The guy like has no sense of embarrassment or whatever. He's doing sorts of random things. Like, he and Takashi have to like go catch a train or whatever, you know, and they're going to a train station and like they see the train is pulling out because they're late, you know, and Takashi's all like, "Oh, I guess we have to catch the next train." And he's like, "We're gonna have to jump!" And as he like runs for it, all craziness, and like jumps off a thing onto the train, and the train just like flies past, and he lands on the tracks. You see how this is very much a cartoon. And then just as he's getting up, this other train like slams into him at full speed. He's like, "Ah!" And Takashi's just like standing there. "Ah!" And he flies back on the thing. Now, what does all that have to do with Japanese? Well, in between all this craziness that I mentioned, and I have these little scenes in my head of things that can happen, the man happens to be in Japan, and a lot of random humor happens to relate to not knowing what the freak is going on that way. And I'd like for the audience to sort of vaguely start picking up things as Dezzie himself sort of, at a slower pace, picks up things. Like the word watashi means I, myself, in Japanese. And like, Dezzie will encounter this word, but he thinks it's a name. And he, like, being Dezzie and everything has to be like all an adventure for him. He goes into this whole deal of like, who is watashi? He's like trying to look it up, you know? And trying to like ask, he doesn't even speak the language or anything, but trying to like, you know, someone mentions watashi and he's like, you know, he thinks it must be some sort of secret agent or something because everyone's mentioning him everywhere. Like, wait, yeah. The word anata means you, as opposed to I, watashi, anata. So maybe like at some point he's got some like half translated forum posts and he's like looking it up and stuff. And he's like, okay, so as far as I can tell, Watashi is awesome. But man, that guy Anata, he's a jerk. Yay, forums. You know, mixing up words and stuff like kawaii means, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing things even as I do this, but basically, kawaii means cute, and kowai means scary. Like, Dezzie's trying to intimidate someone, you know, and he'd be like, eventually if he's figured out the Watashi bit, for instance, he might be like, Watashi! Kawaii! Declaring himself to be cute when he's trying to say that I'm very scary or some crap like that. You know, and I imagine as a slightly more educational bent, that Takashi, let's say, has got sort of a YouTube type thing, where he talks to a webcam, and he's attempting to do a deal teaching, you know, people who speak English how to do Japanese. That's like what he's trying to do. He wants to be eventually to teach Japanese to English speaking people, etc., etc. He's probably in college or something. I don't know. So I can imagine just cutting to a bit, just like, you know, just looking at the camera now, and explaining something with Dezzie in the background, making it fun. Which is basically what Takashi actually gives you the facts, and Dezzie would make it fun. Like, you know, we could have Dezzie's absurd methods of memorization. Like, I have a couple of these myself. Like, Huyu means winter, and Dezzie would totally just do this thing I invented for no reason, but it's helped me so much to remember this word. He goes, okay, so maybe if there was like a blizzard, right, and you're in the blizzard, and there's someone out there, and you don't know who they are, and you're like, hey, who are you? And they're like, what? And you go, who you? See, who you? That's the word. That means winter, because it's winter, blizzard, get it? Go, good. And he's like, and he just jumps off camera or something, you know? Or even giving, like, help that you don't even need. Like, cake in Japanese is keiki. Pretty easy to memorize, right? Takashi might be, like, saying this to the camera. So the word for cake is keiki. And Dezzie, like, pops on screen with, like, you know, a big old board. And he's, like, got the letter K followed by the picture of a key. And he's like, it's like a K key. Aha! And he's off again. Like, never's around long enough to realize he's being an idiot, you know. And I love this idea that, you know, everything around it being fluent Japanese. People just, like, you know, every time someone wants to describe him, they end up saying Baka Desnay, which, you know, is good enough. It happens to be his name, so he'll respond to that. You know, and you never know what someone means particularly. You could taunt someone with it. You could be Baka Desnay, which either he's saying his own name, or he's saying that you're an idiot, or he's... etc. You know. And then, of course, if you're going to do a language learning program, you'd want to have, like, an interactive bit, you know, because there'd be a computer game that goes with this. There'd be you know... I just love to do this, you know, as even just a supplement to whatever. You have, like, Japanese class, whatever, an actual Japanese teacher, that's all very useful. Certainly, I actually have more respect for going to Japanese class than I do for most of my other classes. Because a Japanese class, I'm like, okay, where else am I going to get, you know, this sort of instruction? I don't know anyone who speaks fluent Japanese near me. But it just, you know, okay, so we're going to do this, and then here's an episode of Baka Desnay. You know? And on the fly, you actually learned a bit of stuff. And it's entertaining. And I could go on even more, but I'm going to break my 10-minute limit that I still have to obey here. My editing software doesn't chop up AVI files, and this little camera I'm holding does AVI, etc. Anyway, all sorts of things like that, you know. He gets a large crowd of people angry at him, and he's just, like, tries to distract him. He goes, Godzilla! And, like, no one, he's, like, phased at all. And he's like, I thought this was Japan! Just being a moron. Because I found that's just the funniest things to do. when I'm making up, you know, phrases in class or whatever. And, you know, it'd be educational in the meantime. I think that'd be great. So anyone fluent Japanese, maybe want to help me out, that would also be great. Thanks for watching. See you later.